The American Highway, a place of routine for most, but for a daring few, it became the stage for rebellion and speed. The Cannonball Run wasn't just a race, it was a high-stakes challenge that defied rules and pushed limits. Who were the bold individuals turning cross-country drives into legendary spectacles? And before we move on, please hit the subscribe button so that we can reach more gearheads like you. Now, let's dive into the story behind this audacious race. Forget the measured pace of your carefully planned road trips, the strict adherence to posted speed limits, the polite waves to fellow motorists. The Cannonball was a different beast altogether, a creature born of rebellion and a thirst for pure, unadulterated speed. And at the very heart of this exhilarating and often outrageous chaos, some of the most iconic, outlandish, and utterly unforgettable cars ever to have the privilege of tearing across the American pavement. Which unlikely contender, seemingly out of its element, captured the essence of this rebellious race? Starting with the underdog Subaru Leon. Now, this might not be the first car that comes to mind when you think of high-speed cross-country races, but that's exactly what makes it interesting. Depending on the year, you might find a 1.6-liter or 1.8-liter horizontally opposed four-cylinder engine under the hood, producing somewhere in the neighborhood of 70 to 90 horsepower. Yeah, not exactly a rocket ship. But what the Leon lacked in outright power, it potentially made up for in reliability and, in some models, all-wheel drive. Transmission options varied, but you might find a 4 or 5-speed manual or a 3-speed automatic. Imagine this, a humble Subaru Leon, maybe with a few dents and scratches, chugging its way across America, surprising the heck out of the drivers in their fancy sports cars. The Leon was the ultimate underdog, proving that you don't need a ton of horsepower to have an adventure. Now, let's move on to some good old American muscle, but with a touch of overlooked style. You simply cannot talk about the legendary Cannonball Run without immediately visualizing the image of that ambulance. Not the sterile white vehicle of medical emergencies you might expect, but a brazenly disguised machine that was carrying not patients in need, but rather a secret team of racers with a singular focus: victory, achieved with a healthy dose of audacious rule-breaking. This wasn't some sleek, technologically advanced emergency vehicle. This was a machine built for practicality, for function over outright speed. A 1979 Dodge Sportsman van, a veritable workhorse of utility, was ingeniously and quite audaciously transformed, brilliantly camouflaged with a somewhat makeshift red light bar, likely obtained from a local auto parts store rather than a specialized outfitter, boldly fabricated medical insignias that, upon closer inspection, might have raised a few eyebrows. Imagine the sheer audacity, the outright audacity of it all. This somewhat clumsy vehicle, its undeniably boxy frame offering the aerodynamic profile of a brick, certainly not engineered for shattering speed records, barreling across state lines. It was weaving through unsuspecting traffic with the supposed urgency of a life-or-death emergency. Sirens probably just a standard car horn, blaring, demanding right-of-way. But the only genuine emergency was the burning, all-consuming need to reach the finish line at the sun-drenched Portofino Inn in Redondo Beach, California, before any of the other equally determined, albeit perhaps more conventionally equipped, competitors. The team, often rumored to be spearheaded by the very instigator of this glorious automotive mayhem, the legendary automotive journalist and raconteur Brock Yates himself, utilized the van's surprisingly spacious and decidedly unaerodynamic frame to cleverly conceal not just a substantial quantity of extra fuel, absolutely crucial for such a prolonged and high-speed cross-country endeavor, but even a rotating and no doubt occasionally uncomfortable cast of patients, loyal friends and willing accomplices, enthusiastically playing their assigned roles to further solidify the elaborate plan. Some truly incredible accounts even suggest they went so far as to carry a collection of rather unconvincing fake medical equipment, strategically placed to enhance their already outlandish disguise. It was a stroke of pure comedic genius, a moment of inspired absurdity that forever cemented its utterly unique and iconic place in the rich and raucous tapestry of Cannonball lore. But here's the kicker. The Cannonball Run wasn't initially conceived as just a law-breaking spectacle for adrenaline junkies. It was in fact a bold and rebellious protest against American traffic laws. That's right, the mastermind behind it all, Brock Yates, wasn't just chasing thrills, he was making a pointed critique. Yates believed that the modern highway system, with its rigid speed limits and stifling traffic laws, was stunting the full potential of cars and drivers alike. He envisioned the Cannonball as a way to demonstrate what could be achieved on the open road when skill, speed, and machine were unleashed without restrictions. Imagine that. Every outrageous car, every insane disguise, every high-speed escapade, it all started as an audacious statement against the status quo, a speeding protest on wheels. But the Cannonball wasn't solely about deception and disguise. What about the raw, unadulterated thrill of speed and the beauty of finely engineered performance? And while a boxy ambulance defying expectations was one thing, what about a car that didn't need tricks or disguises to dominate the Cannonball? What machine could make speed itself an art form? Then, in a dramatic shift in automotive aesthetic and intent, there was the raw, breathtaking beauty of the Ferrari 308 GTS. A complete and utter contrast to the intentionally utilitarian and rather ungainly ambulance. This undeniably fiery red marvel was the peak of Italian elegance, sophisticated design, and exhilarating high performance. Introduced to an adoring public in 1977, the stunning 308 GTS, with its now iconic and instantly recognizable Targa top, which allowed for open-air thrills at breathtaking speeds, very quickly became an undeniable symbol of the era's undeniable glamour and the aura of Italian sports car design. The Ferrari in its very essence wasn't about elaborate and somewhat comical disguises or any form of particularly clever subterfuge. It was about showcasing sheer, unadulterated power, delivered with exhilarating precision by its mid-mounted high-revving V8 engine and delivering truly breathtaking acceleration that could leave lesser vehicles quite literally in its dust. Its very presence in the audacious Cannonball Run spoke volumes about the primal allure of pushing these finely tuned and meticulously engineered machines to their absolute physical and mechanical limits, a testament to the human desire for speed and the thrill of the open road. Piloted by those who undeniably crave the pure, unadulterated sensation of speed and the adrenaline-fueled thrill of the high-stakes chase, the stunning Ferrari 308 GTS brought an undeniable and much appreciated touch of sophisticated European glamour and undeniable performance pedigree to the otherwise decidedly rough and tumble, anything-goes atmosphere of the Cannonball event. From Italian elegance to something altogether more outrageous. What vehicle represented the absolute pinnacle of power and luxury within the Cannonball? Alright, let's get sophisticated with a dash of high-speed chase. The Aston Martin DB5. Instantly recognizable, this beauty wasn't just about looking suave, it had the muscle to back it up. Under that elegant hood sat a 4.0-liter inline 6-cylinder engine, typically producing around 282 horsepower. Now, that might not sound like a monster by today's standards, but back then it was enough to make things interesting. We're talking about a car that could hit 0 to 60 miles per hour in around 7 seconds and keep going well past 140 miles per hour. The DB5 usually came with a 5-speed manual transmission, giving the driver full control to row through the gears as they devoured the highway. Imagine this, that unmistakable Aston Martin silhouette, probably in silver birch, carving through the American landscape with a refined growl. While maybe not the most obvious choice for a no-holds-barred race, the DB5 brought a touch of class and understated speed to the Cannonball shenanigans. From British sophistication to something unapologetically wild and Italian, let's unleash a true supercar icon. And then, in a move that amplified the audaciousness of the event even further, there was the almost unbelievably outlandish and undeniably unforgettable presence of the Lamborghini Countach. A definitive and undisputed poster child for the unapologetic automotive excess of the 1980s, and quite possibly the very definition of a no-holds-barred supercar extravaganza, the Lamborghini Countach was significantly more than just a mere car. It was a rolling, roaring, and utterly unforgettable statement. Unveiled in its initial groundbreaking prototype form all the way back in 1971 and finally entering production to the delight of automotive enthusiasts worldwide in 1974, its utterly radical and fiercely futuristic design irrevocably redefined the established parameters of the supercar aesthetic, setting a new and incredibly high bar for automotive design. Its dramatically sharp and impossibly futuristic lines, paired with a ground-hugging low profile that turned even modest speed bumps into formidable adversaries, made the Lamborghini Countach a machine that transcended practicality. Its now iconic scissor doors, an attention-grabbing flourish, set it apart from the mundane, while every detail in its outrageous design demanded attention and respect. Under the hood, the Countach roared with a 4.8 to 5.2-liter V12 engine, depending on the model year, producing up to 455 horsepower and a thunderous 370 pound-feet of torque. This beast could hit a top speed of 190 miles per hour and sprint from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 4.7 seconds, feats that solidified its place as one of the fastest cars of its era. Its 5-speed manual transmission ensured complete control for its pilots, though taming this beast was no easy task. Every aggressively sharp angle and meticulously sculpted aerodynamic curve hinted at untamed speed and unbridled power, though the car's actual aerodynamic performance was often debated. Witnessing a Countach participate in the chaos of the Cannonball Run was like watching a mythical beast unleashed on unsuspecting highways. This wasn't just a car, it was a rolling spectacle, commanding attention with its raw power, radical design, and the unmistakable thunder of its V12 engine as it tore through America's roads. With all these legendary cars roaring across America, you might wonder, what's the legacy of the Cannonball Run today? Is its spirit alive, or has the curtain finally fallen on this law-breaking phenomenon? These were and forever will be true and enduring icons of speed, timeless style that continues to inspire, and a certain unyielding and undeniably infectious rebellious spirit that defined a truly unique, unforgettable, and utterly audacious chapter in the sprawling and fascinating history of automobiles. They remain for all time enshrined as the roaring four-wheeled stars of a real-life high-speed epic, permanently and indelibly etched in the collective memory of those who continue to dream of the open road and the unbridled, exhilarating thrill of the truly untamed journey. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Give it a thumbs up if you liked the video, and please make sure you're subscribed so that you don't miss our next episode in the Muscle Car Vault.